Hello everybody. Your teacher must have given you some common advice as to how to study. You must study regularly for 5-6 hours, do problems from textbook, exercise regularly, eat right, meditate regularly, etc. Well, all these techniques are great, but if you are looking to increase the speed of your learning by 5 times, if you want to know the scientifically proven methods of improving to study, and if you want to never forget what you have studied, well, you must watch this video till end, and we will be applying these techniques on this particular video so that you do not forget all of these 5 techniques. Let me tell you that technique 4 and technique 5 are an absolute genius, but to know them you must go through technique 1, 2, 3 as well. Ready? Let's look at technique number 1. It's called space repetition. So in this technique, you study for some time and then you take a break. You give some gap before you study the same topic again, and then again you take a longer gap and study the same topic again. So for example, if I have studied something today, I will take a 1 or 2 days gap before I study the same topic again. And then I will take another gap of, let's say, 5-6 days to study the same topic, and then again a month's gap. So when I do that, one is I am doing a repetition which helps me gain the knowledge. Secondly, I am not letting my brain forget whatever I have studied. So yes, that's technique 1, space repetition. Let's look at technique number 2. Technique number 2 is about recall. We think about a lot of things during our daytime, but what if we think about what we studied? If we think about what we had been taught in our coaching classes in our school or about our study session, if we quickly try to recall it, we reinforce whatever we had studied and it improves our retention. Further, if you want to make this technique even more advanced, you can do it in a space repetition fashion. So for example, if I have studied something today, I will immediately try to recall it after my study session, and then try to recall it after 2 days, and then try to recall it after 5 days. So you combine technique 1 and 2 together and make it even more advanced and effective. Let's look at technique number 3 now. It's called Feynman technique. So in this technique, you basically teach somebody whatever you had studied. You try to fill in gaps in your understanding by teaching it to somebody else. And when you do so, you apply your own brain in making somebody else understand. You break down the information into an easier chunks so that it can be understood by someone else. And when they ask you questions, you will have to again apply your brain to answer them, or you will have to go back to your test to understand the answers to those questions. So this will fill in the gaps which you have in your mind about that particular topic. So those gaps in your understanding would be filled and you will know the text even better. Before we go on to the genius techniques, let's recall what we have studied. Well, first thing was the space repetition. Then you give some time to your studies and then you get back to the studies again. You study the same topic again. That's called space repetition. Then you studied about recall and then you studied about Feynman technique. But how about you use all these 3 techniques in a spaced repetition manner? Well, that would be even better. But how about I use recall in a spaced repetition manner? Would that be even better? Yes, it would be even better to use a recall method in a spaced repetition manner. So for example, if I have studied anything today, I will try to recall it immediately, then recall it after 2 days, and then try to recall it after 5 days. But how about you, instead of recalling after 5 days, you use the Feynman technique on the 5th day? Well, that would be even better. But how about you use the Feynman technique on the 2nd day also? It would be even better. And now, if you want to use the Feynman technique immediately after studying, it would be even better. So, if you have learned anything today, and if you try to apply Feynman technique and teach it to somebody immediately, it would be good. But after spaced repetition, if you try to teach it after 2 days to somebody, it would be even better. And after, let's say, 5 days, 10 days, or a month's time, you again try to teach the same topic to somebody, then you are using the Feynman technique again. That would be the best way to study. And this brings to technique number 4. You basically combine all the 3 techniques, and this becomes your 4th technique, which, if you summarize, is actually spaced Feynman technique, right? Spaced Feynman technique. Now, when you have absorbed this information, let's go to technique number 5. You will never forget anything you learn. This is the master technique. Well, let's try to apply the master technique to whatever we have studied till now. We had studied 4 techniques: spaced repetition, recall, Feynman technique, combine all the 3, and then the master technique. So the way you will apply this technique is, you will take the initials of all of these techniques, S, R, F, C, M, and then through those initials you will make a word. Sir Feynman is a crime master, and all you have to remember is a mad scientist who is a crime master. Well, isn't it bad to make Sir Feynman a crime master? Because Feynman was somebody who won a Nobel Prize. He did something for the humanity. Well, if you're watching till now, I want to give you a secret sauce. Tip number 6, a bonus tip. Space Feynman technique is the best. That's what we had studied until we knew 4 techniques. So we just added the master technique to it. So basically what you have to remember is spaced Feynman is a master. Why? Because the consolidation of first 4 techniques was already spaced Feynman, and the 5th technique is the master technique. So we add that and make it spaced Feynman is a master. But how do we remember spaced? How did the spaced come from? Where did it come from? And how do we remember Feynman? Well, just remember space. You know space? Just have a picture in your mind of the space, and then have a picture of the scientist who's Dr. Feynman, and then you have it. Now try to apply the same method. Try to write down in the comments what you have learned. Try to teach me back what you have learned, so that you apply what you have learned immediately, and that will reinforce whatever you have studied, and you will never forget these techniques again. If you have liked this video, please like this video. Thanks a lot for watching this video. All the best with your exams preparation.